but for the service purpose. So if you were sterile, imagine you're sterile, this is your sterile kit. I, being the non-sterile assistant, would just take some gel. It doesn't have to be sterile because it's going inside the sterile kit. Just put a little pea-sized volume like that on here. Now you would pick up the bottom shield and you would hold it. What's this? Put it in the palm. Yeah, there you go. So keep, and I would just right over like this, okay? And then pull this. This keeps it sterile. That's the needle guide, and this coming through keeps it sterile. I pull it off.
Right.
Now you take the top portion and put that right down over the vertical post, and then you would snap it back, snap, snap, and snap right there. Click. All right. So yeah. So you're sterile now. That's sterile. There's a open-ended, open on both ends sterile sheath that goes here, and so then I would take this, being non-sterile, and you'd let it go, and you'd open that sheath up, and and then it comes out the bottom end, and you just wrap the redundant sterile cable sheath around and put the rubber band on, and just kind of tug it down against here. So that would make you fully sterile.
Right.
Okay? Now, there are a few things that you need to know about this. It's obviously a unique shape for a reason, for stability, so you have to hold it right. So you just make an L like this, right up against there, middle finger in this finger grip, not the first, but middle finger. And this, what this does, allows you to have now a tripod for stability on your patient. Okay? And it also allows your thumb to be able to reach your needle lock. Okay? So when you put your needle through the needle guide and you get into the vessel, you get blood flashing the syringe, then you can clamp the needle and you hold gentle pressure like that. It holds the needle from moving. So when you go to grab your guide wire, you don't lose the limit. Okay? The needle has a magnet on it. So you use this needle instead of the needle in the central line kit. You just use the syringes in the kit. You put this needle on there. And it goes through the needle guide. In a way, I tell people to put the needle through the guide. Obviously the needle, it's a surgical instrument. You want it to remain sharp, so you don't want to be dinging around, right?
Right.
So the way, and it's hard to kind of get it in there. If you go, put it on here first, the magnet right on here, then it stabilizes. It's easy to go right in. Okay, here first, right in. All right, and then you would, when you clamp it, like that, that clamp holds it from going up and down, but it still allows it to rotate, because sometimes you want to manipulate that bevel. So that being said, when you go, you get blood flash in the syringe, you want to remove the syringe from the needle, you can't just twist it, because it won't come off.
Right.
It's not meant to. So you just reach down and you go pop. So you just kind of squeeze between the two, and it pops right off. So what I want you to do is load the needle a few times, and then pop it off a few times, get the feel for that.
Okay.
Okay? And hold it correctly too.
Hold it like that.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure your thumb can reach the needle clamp. And you got to make sure it's open, obviously. Yeah, and you can see the magnet's designed to run right down this rail. The outside diameter of the magnet matches that radius.
Right.
Yep. So then you would clamp.
Clamp before you.
Yep, because you want to hold it in place. Clamp. And then pop. Okay? And you probably had to put it on pretty tight. You don't have to, you have to get used to it. You don't have to jam that needle onto the hub. Just so do that. Practice that several times. Pretty straightforward. I think that's it. So let's have you scan the Phantom. This Phantom has a vessel running this way. So what you do is you, in cross section, Let me flip this because I've got it backwards on you. The screen is set up right now for someone holding the needle in their left hand. You hold it in your right, so what you do is you switch, you go up to this tab here, and you switch your needle orientation. So just
Okay.
from the right. You're holding
So
the,
that,
yeah, sorry, I didn't even explain
be-
it. This is where the needle is going to go.
okay.
That corresponds to the needle guide through the probe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a high precision needle guide, which that defines exactly where that needle is going to go when you put it through the probe.
Okay.
So load the needle here and slowly advance it through, and look what you see. All right, so you see a cartoon, you see a virtual needle,
Virtual image.
and that's where the needle goes. So when you image here and you advance the needle, you don't have to use the ultrasound to see the needle, you use this magnetics to see the needle. That's the whole idea,
Right.
okay? So try that.
Okay. Do you tend to load it after you've positioned the ultrasound?
I do,
Or
but
do
there
you
have been a few
find
people,
first and then,
this is a really interesting point, because I've had a few people, and I thought about this in my sleep last night, that you could do this. You could load this, and without it coming out the bottom, you could put the needle clamp on. And then you could image, and the needle's already in there, and you could release the clamp and go forward.
mm-hmm.
So that would be a technique that you personally develop for yourself. If that's the way you like it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Okay? I think it's an interesting
Mhm,
idea.
definitely.
A couple people say that.
Yeah.
So, give it a little bit of gain. There's a lot of air in this Phantom, so its imaging is not great, but that's the vessel there. If you kind of scan up and down and find a place where there's not so much air. Alright, so, there you go. Yeah, that should be good. Aim right about here. I can just tell you that that's where you're going to need to be. 'Cause that's actually a small vessel. When you see the needle go in, the needle is scale size, so you watch how big the needle is compared to that vessel. So it's a pretty small vessel.
Okay. It's about there.
Yeah. You're just going after a target at this point. It really doesn't matter that it's...
It's classic.
Just go through and you watch, point and shoot. Boop, you're in. Okay, so now you would clamp with your thumb, and then you'd aspirate. Make sure you're in. Well, you just get a whole bunch of air, and now you're getting fluid.
Yeah.
And then you would pop it off,
Pop
pop the syringe off,
Yep.
thread your guide wire. So, what we're going to do now is, if you did a real central line, you wouldn't go straight in. You would angle downstream. So
Right.
let's do another one.
Okay.
And this time just kind of angle downstream a little bit. There you go, there's some air free. Yeah, so now, angle downstream, there you go. You just need about 30 degrees off vertical and it'll feed the guide wire, no problem.
Have you put in central lines before?
I have not on a human.
Okay.
I've never put in one.
Now aspirate. You can see the tips in. You can actually, one of the tests I do, if people don't believe it, watch this. You can see the bevel of the real needle turning. And it's a little off here because the speed of sound in this is different than the speed of sound in tissue, human tissue.
Sure.
So it's a little bit off, but you can, if you do it on a like you do it in a vascular lab, or you do it in you can, it's, if you set this for the right speed of sound, it's dead nuts. You can show people it. So anyway, you got blood in the syringe,
Mm-hmm.
pop it off, thread your guide wire, and then you pull the whole thing, you keep it clamped like that, pull the whole thing off over the wire's in, and you just continue with your central line.
Put it in.
So now that you've done that, you can scan my neck without the needle.